Hi, second grade champions. Great to see you today. As you can tell, today is our Spirit Day focusing on sports day. So I have as my backdrop today the Truist Stadium, which is in Atlanta, Georgia. And I chose this location because I am an Atlanta Braves baseball fan, and I'm wearing my Atlanta Braves shirt. And I grew up in Atlanta and have so many fond memories of Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, Turner Field, and now the Braves play at the Truist Field here in Atlanta. So have that as my backdrop, celebrating baseball, which is a spring and summer and fall sport in the United States. And also my Panthers cap, because we have the Panthers and we see their stadium from our school windows. Pretty cool. And some of you know that today is the day we were to have our school musical at the Halton Theater at CPCC. We were performing Lion King Jr., the musical. So I'm sporting my Lion King pin, giving a shout out to all of the cast and crew of the Lion King Jr. musical, and to all of our collegiate leaders led by Ms. Stanton for the musical, and thinking of all of you today, and know that we'll have that performance soon in the not too distant future. So thank you so much. We are reading Kittens in the Kitchen, and we are on page 38. And this is when Mandy is trying to find a home for the kittens. How? Mandy leaped at the promise. Her eyes lit up. We'll help you look for homes. How many kittens are there? 4? Grandma got on her thinking cap. There's Eileen Davy at the old schoolhouse, but she's on the main road and she's already lost 2 cats to the traffic, poor things. There's Myra Hugel, but she has to look after her sick sister in York right now. There's Dora Jenke from Skyke Farm, but she's a loony old thing, and her new husband isn't known as an animal lover. Mandy seized each name, then let it drop as her grandmother counted them off on her fingers. She was beginning to feel hopeless again. Wait, her grandfather said, I've just had a brilliant idea. Mandy swung around to face him. What? The post office, he said, raising a finger. Mandy looked puzzled. Not right now, Grandpa. We're talking about Walton's kittens. I know. That's why I mentioned the post office. That's my brilliant idea. Oh, I see, her grandmother said. Yes, Tom, of course. What? What? Mandy didn't see it at all. The bulletin board in the post office, that's what. Her grandpa took a postcard out of the bureau and uncapped his old fountain pen. Watch. He wrote in beautiful old-fashioned letters. Wanted. 4 good homes. Cat lovers needed to provide homes for kittens. Please call Welford 703-267. There, he said, standing back and looking at the work of art. You can take it down to the post office first thing in the morning. Mandy took the sign. She nodded and smiled. Brilliant, Grandpa. He screwed the top back on his pen. It's nothing, my dear, he said modestly. Yes, it is. It's brilliant. We'll get millions of calls. You'll see. Welford was full of animal lovers, and this was the perfect way to find them. Everyone went into the post office at some time during each day. Mandy hugged both her grandparents. Maybe not millions, her grandmother advised. All right, dozens, Mandy said, laughing in her own habit of exaggerating. They all left together. She left the house smiling and happy. She closed the gate with its lilac cottage sign, waved and set off down the lane. Tomorrow was Friday. She'd be at the post office first thing in the morning. She'd spend the weekend answering all the phone calls. She ran home full of plans and preparations. Mandy had arranged to meet James again to go to school early. She'd already been into the post office and pinned up her wanted sign right in the center of the bulletin board. She greeted him cheerfully with, You're 7 minutes late, James Hunter. James pushed his glasses back onto the bridge of his nose. Sorry, he said. He screeched to a halt on his bike. I had to walk Blackie. Dad's away, and then I had to feed Benji. Oh, well then. Mandy forgave him. Being late because of a dog and a cat was quite understandable. Let's go. They made up some time on the journey. Traffic was still light, and they knew all the back ways. By 8:05, they were knocking on the Williamses' kitchen door. Mrs. Williams opened it with a worried face. "I thought you weren't coming. Come in," she said. "Is something wrong?" Mandy was unpacking cat food and a carton of milk on the kitchen table. "I'm not sure. It's too quiet in there for my liking. Not like yesterday with all the racket." Even Eric noticed. Mrs. Williams watched anxiously. Mandy lifted the basket lid. "Hello, Walton," she said. But the cat lay on her side and only managed a feeble meow. "Leave me in peace," she seemed to say. She raised her head, but she didn't stretch and make her way into the daylight to get some breakfast. "Poor thing, she's exhausted," Mandy said. "James, you better open that can of food. I'll lift her out." She reached in, tenderly lifting the tired cat. "She'll be all right in a minute," she told Mrs. Williams. She knew from helping out at home that there was nothing seriously wrong. She just needs a little extra care. And she set the cat down to feed. Walton wobbled, steadied herself, and eagerly got to work on the dish of meat. "What about the kittens?" James said. Mandy cast an expert eye over the four huddled shapes. "Fine," she said, "but we'll have to feed them. We need the droppers, and we'll have to use the ordinary milk for now." She'd seen her mom and dad do it often enough. Now she hoped she could manage it all by herself. James got the droppers from her bag. Mandy gently heated the milk. Then she lifted one of the feather-light bundles. She sat with it on her lap and eased open its tiny mouth. "Come on, Patch, come on," she coaxed. She squeezed the rubber bulb of the dropper and took in milk from the warm pan. Then, while she held the kitten's mouth with 2 fingers, she eased the glass tube between its lips with the other hand. She squeezed again and watched Patch's tiny tongue lick and then swallow the liquid. "See," she said to James. "Now you try it." He nodded and took another kitten, Smokey, out of the basket. Afraid but determined, he copied Mandy's actions with a second dropper. Smokey looked surprised, then gulped. James looked up in triumph. "All right," Mandy said. It was 15 minutes later, and they were just finishing with the last 2 kittens when Mr. Williams tramped back in from unlocking the school. James and Mandy were busy stroking the kittens' throats to encourage them to swallow. Mr. Williams heard the tiny mewing from the basket. "What's up with the mother cat?" he barked. "Tired out," Mrs. Williams said, "and you would be too." She hovered by the sink like a worried relative. He turned back out of his kitchen, grumbling. "This place is being turned into a cat hospital. A man can't even call his home his own anymore." Mandy and James finished the feeding and cleaned up the room to perfection. Walton was sitting on the step in the morning sun. She gave herself a thorough licking. Mandy bent to stroke her. "Good girl," she said. She was relieved when Walton decided it was time to return to her kittens. They watched her walk across the shiny tiles, jump up, and nimbly lift the basket lid with one paw. Then she disappeared from sight. "Smart cat," James said. He looked at his watch. "It's 8:45, he reminded Mandy. They said a hurried goodbye to Mrs. Williams and ran out through the garden and across the playground. A strong wind blew white blossom petals diagonally across the pavement. "What do you think?" James asked, pausing before they passed under the great stone arch of the main entrance. "Oh, Walton will be all right," Mandy said. "She'll just have to take things easy." She hitched her backpack higher onto her shoulders and brushed cat hairs off her navy blue skirt. "But I'm not so sure about the kittens now." Mandy didn't want to scare James, but she thought the cat's milk might dry up. This sometimes happened when the mother wasn't strong. If so, the tiny kittens would soon starve to death. We'll have to wait and see. Perhaps Walton will be able to go on feeding them herself. What if she can't? James wanted to know. Mandy thought of the kittens with their gradually opening eyes, their fluffier coats, their attempts to struggle up onto all fours. They still tumbled and collapsed like rag dolls. She could hold them easily in the palm of her hand. "Well, we'll just have to keep on feeding them ourselves," she said. All morning long, Mandy had kitten worries on her mind. There was the old one of finding 4 good homes in less than a week, and the new one that she wouldn't confess even to James. But the question kept crowding in on her. It wouldn't go away. Walton was exhausted from the birth. The kittens were clinging to life by a thread, and the question still whirled in her head as Mandy sat and ate her packed lunch in B Hall with Kate and Melanie. Would they need to find homes for the kittens after all? Would the poor little things even survive? We're going to stop there, and tomorrow we'll start on chapter 4, page 45. Thank you so much, second graders. I hope you have a really good day and take care of yourselves. Bye now.